Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are on the planet. I hope you enjoyed the stories about the angels that came and visited me in the natural and in my dreams. Now, angels come and visit us all the time in dreams, and if an angel hasn't visited you yet, pray and ask the Lord to have an angel come and visit you in a dream, or even in the natural as he did to me. I still keep asking God to have that angel come back and talk to me some more, because I've got a lot more questions to ask him than I had the first time I talked to him. Well, today I want to talk about a divine appointment. God always sets up divine appointments for me, and I know he sets them up for you, and they're just wonderful. You just never know what God's going to do. I'm looking in the paper. I'm looking for a car. I have a problem. I like to buy automobiles. I've owned over 300 automobiles. I know. I need prayer for that. But in the paper was a Peugeot, a 1957 Peugeot, and that's the Mercedes-Benz of France, they say. So I'm looking at the clock to make sure I don't go over my 10 minutes of YouTube time. So here I am looking in the paper. I make the phone call, and the lady says, "Come on over and take a look at the car." So I drive over to their house, and it's a big, beautiful mansion. And I knock on the door, and I see the car parked out in front, and it's exactly what I want. It's got the purple leather interior, and it's got the maroon outside. Little did I know it was a lemon. So I knock on the door, and the lady answers the door. She said, "Would you like to go upstairs and talk to my husband about the Peugeot?" And I said, "Upstairs?" And she said, "Yeah." She said, "I hope you don't mind." And I said, "No, I don't mind." So as I start to walk upstairs, I'm talking to the Holy Spirit, and I'm saying, "Oh Lord, what are you getting me into this time?" So I want to be in tune to what God is saying. So I walk upstairs, or I think I'm in tune to what God is saying. So I walk upstairs, and I see this man on his bed in his pajamas with a robe on, and he's got all these papers all over the bed with an attaché case. And I said, "Hi, my name is Steve." And he said, "My name's Jerry." And I said, "What's going on here?" He said, "I hurt my back 2 weeks ago, and I've been in bed for 2 weeks." And I look at him, and with all the faith I could muster up, instead of saying, "Well, let me pray for you. I'm a healer. I pray for people like you." And I said, "Have you ever tried a chiropractor?" Honest to goodness. I said, "Have you ever tried a chiropractor?" And I said, "But don't tell your doctor, because doctors don't like chiropractors." And he looks at me and he smiles and he says, "I am a doctor. I'm an OB-GYN at Kaiser Permanente Hospital in Anaheim, California." There's that Anaheim again. If you listen to my stories, you'll find out a lot of things happened to me in Anaheim. So that's because California Angels baseball park is in Anaheim. So I go over and I sit next to his bed, and he's telling me all about the Peugeot. And as he's telling me about the Peugeot, I can't hear a word he's saying, because the Holy Spirit is speaking to me, saying, "Lay hands on his back, I'm going to heal him." And I'm arguing. Now here I am, a person that prays for the sick and sees many healings, and I'm arguing with God of the universe, the God who spoke the world into existence, the God who flung the stars into the sky, and I'm arguing with him, and I'm saying, "God, this is a doctor. Doctors are hard to pray for. Have you ever tried to pray for a doctor, Lord?" "Well, of course you have." And so he said, "Lay hands on him." So I said, "Jerry, hold it. I haven't heard a word you've said. I'm Jewish. I believe in Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God. And I want you to know that I would like to pray for your back. Do you mind?" And he said, "No, I don't mind at all." So I start to pray for his low back, and his son comes running up the stairs, and he sees me praying for his back, and he runs down to get his mother, and Jerry goes, "My back's just burning up." and it's really hot. And I said, oh, that's good, Jerry, that's good. So he said, it's starting to feel really good. So his wife comes running up the stairs. She goes, Jerry, what's happening? He said, this guy's healing my back. I said, no, I'm not healing your back. God's healing your back. And I said, Jerry, get out of bed. Your back's healed. He said, really? He gets out of bed, and if you've ever seen a person try and find a pain they've had for 2 weeks, he's wiggling, he's doing the hula, and I'm laughing hysterically. And I said, Jerry, Jesus Christ just healed you. And he walks up to me, you know, and he says, I haven't had a lot of time for God in my life. And he starts to cry, and I said, that's all right, Jerry. God has a lot of time for you. And what I didn't know is that God had already set the whole situation up, because he had had his wife go to Catholic church, to a Catholic mass, where they had a charismatic Catholic priest lay hands on her, and she passed out on the floor, came home, told her husband he wanted nothing to do with it, and here I come along, and the Lord uses me to heal him, buy the Peugeot, and 6 months later I had to junk it because it was truly a lemon. So that's my story. I'll come back tomorrow and tell you another healing story. God bless you. Visit my website, StephenZarit.com. Blessings to you all. Now, if my wife will turn off the camera, I can get up.